And welcome back to the Bridge Show here in the basement of Bridge Technologies HQ. And what a show we have for you. It's Bridge Event Week, so there's a lot of spectacular stuff. We can't wait, so what are we waiting for? Let the show begin. And again, welcome back to the show. We are in the IP studio in the basement here in Oslo, Norway. And I am joined by our managing director, Rolf Ollmar.
Thank you.
Welcome back.
Thank you very much.
It's a long time since you've been to the show now.
Yes, everybody wants to get on the show.
Yeah, I know. There's a full house here.
Yeah,
They're
exactly.
screaming. Or are they kicking and screaming when we put them in the red chair?
Well, who knows?
Okay, well, that's be something to be discussed. But we have an exciting week.
Yes, definitely. This is one of the really exciting weeks with
Oh, yes.
Bridge Event.
We have a Bridge event where we invite our global partners from over 90 countries to be part of, presentations, what's new, etc. And today we are giving you guys a sneak preview of what we are going to talk about and what's also new and exciting. But excitement has to come from something.
Definitely.
And we started out September last year with some very exciting news.
Yeah, I mean, last year we launched version 6 of
Yes.
the VB330, and that sounds boring, but it's actually not. Yeah.
Version 6, it's not boring at all.
It's not boring at all. No, and the reason is really because it's more than a version number, I like to say, because it's like a total remake of the product.
That's very
the
true.
whole engine swapped out and put in something much beefier and much faster. Same product ranges, same functionality in many cases, but just more of everything.
Exactly. I believe that there was a number that was mentioned once or twice when we presented this.
Yeah, definitely the figure of 1,000.
Oh, goodness. Well, that's a large figure, I say.
Yep. Yeah, I mean 1,000 ETR engines you
Yeah.
can now do in parallel. That's something we've never been able to do before.
And I mean, this is not just rudimentary ETR checking.
No, that's a very important point, actually. This
It's
is,
the full analytics engine.
yeah, all the layers, all the levels. Yeah, exactly.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, I'm quite impressed by it.
And if we iterate even further back, one of our best traditions has been to incrementally add on to our software, but to keep that extremely stable core software.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, since we started, we've always had the philosophy of trying to keep as much as possible in library form. And
exactly.
what that means is really just to try and reuse as much as possible, but in a smart way.
Yeah, exactly. Because if it doesn't work anymore, of course you throw it out and replace it with something new. But the iteration of fiddling and polishing it until it really shines has been very successful.
Yeah, definitely. And it also cross-pollinates between products in a much better way. So if you build something, you also get to use it in the other
exactly.
products that we potentially launch.
Yeah, but I think that is a very interesting thing. And that was the core of the 6.0, that we for one of the first times did dramatic changes to the core structure to get more performance.
Exactly. So now everything, well, without going in too much details, but basically we are splitting the code a bit better so that you can utilize more of the underlying resources in the number of CPU cores and memory, and in this way get the maximum out of the platforms you run on. And of course, we've always had 3 platforms to launch these things on. So same product, but on 3 different platforms. We've now launched the version 6 on 2 of those platforms.
Exactly.
And those would be the what we call the Appliance server, which is, it's a standard server. We put it into play, we install the software, and we do everything for you. Then it's the more free-minded software solution only, and you put it on your own server hardware.
Exactly.
So those are the two out of the three.
I think when you say that Appliance is just a server, well, it comes with a hell of a processor.
Yeah.
And 100 gig interfaces.
Yeah. Dual 100 gig interfaces.
It's not your regular server platform. No. Don't get confused. But of course, it's the Appliance which is pre-packaged that you can then basically get out of the box, put it in a rack, fire it up, and it works.
Yeah.
And then you have the software version, which
Yeah.
you can run. You can run it in the cloud if you like.
Yeah, that's exactly it. It's more you're a bit on your own, but
Yeah.
not. But on good and bad terms. So it means
A bit on your own, but not thrown to the wolves.
No, exactly. I think that's a nice distinction.
Well, and then, of course, there is one more thing I would like to say, because, well, we kind of said it all. We said, thousands of
Yeah.
streams, we have everything. And if you want, you can go back and watch this September show, and you get a full rundown of what was new then. But we have some great news for everyone.
Yeah.
Because the third category.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we talked about the two, the server appliance and the software solution. But the third is what we've always had, which is what we call the embedded.
Exactly.
The embedded products. And those are the normal VB120s, the VB220s, the cards that you plug into a chassis. You can populate them with your own, or the RF cards or the ASI cards. It's what we've had for a long time, really.
Well, I would say 17 years. The first product was an embedded solution.
Yeah, exactly. So but the good thing here is that we are using the same code also into the embedded solution.
So you can say that because when we came out with our first Intel-based, server-based software products, we got all the code from the embedded systems and then put them on servers.
Yeah.
This time it was the other way around.
Yeah, exactly. So it goes both ways.
Absolutely.
But that's where the libraries come in as well, that we try and contain everything as much as possible in packages that you can reuse. So.
Yeah, because reuse is a big thing, and I feel this is very important to tell all of you about, because we can gain so much in stability, feature richness by having one set of code instead of having multiple products with multiple platforms with multiple code instances.
Yeah, I mean, we are a highly specialized business overall. I mean, we operate in a very specialized business. Broadcast.
That is true.
It has demands that are extreme in some cases.
Yes.
It must always work.
Yeah.
And there's always a bit of tweaking and customization for each large account. So the way of doing development on these kinds of customers is different than what you normally would find if you build an accounting system or anything else.
Exactly. And that means that we now have taken, again, the 6.0 code from the server-based and appliance-based systems over to the embedded. And let's talk a bit about embedded, because people say software is it, embedded specialized hardware is dead as a doornail. And of course, we don't believe that at all.
No, I mean, there are, it's like a sinusoid. It goes up and down and up again.
Yeah.
And it always a race between power utilization.
Oh yes.
Because if you look at a normal server these days, I mean, you are looking at 200 to 400 watts of power usage.
Or more.
Yeah. Exactly.
We just purchased some new servers for our ERP system, and they have 1,000 watts power supplies. So obviously that's a huge power drain compared to, let's say, a VB220 probe, which draws about 20-25 watts.
Yeah, that's with interface cards and everything.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's nothing.
Yeah, it is truly a tenth easily, or even a 20th in some cases.
And that becomes pretty important if you want to place those things on, first of all, the mountaintop, where you have limited access to, you know, high degrees of power, and especially also with the power outage.
Yeah.
Suddenly it will run on batteries, and you don't really want the server to drain your transmitter.
No, exactly. And it's just different engineering goals. When we design embedded solutions, we think MTBF of 15 years instead of a server that have a normal MTBF of 5 to 7 maybe, depending on who you buy from. And that in itself is just a different design goal. So, and of course power usage and space. I mean, if you look at a big server these days, it's like 1.5 meter in.
It's very
like
true. It feels like it. It's long.
Like a diving board.
But you know, I love this, and that means we believe very strongly, as we told you guys about many times, that it has a fine future living side by side with software solutions. You can then use software solutions more in the core, in the data centers, in the cloud, or in the big headends, and then of course you can have small, nice, very energy efficient embedded systems out there on the edge.
Yeah, and specialize them with interfaces that you normally would not use in the centralized site.
No, like terrestrial interfaces, like cable interfaces.
Yeah, these are typical applications of that.
But, you know, we have actually more interesting things, because we are telling you the big news, which is that we are this summer going to launch the version 6 for the embedded probes as well. And that is quite a step.
Yeah, it's like we just talked about, taking the software from the server side and now pushing it into the embedded again.
Yes.
It's kind of the other way around in this case. And, which is a very interesting development.
Because that means that everything will then, as you say, cross-pollinate. We will be able to launch for embedded probes and server-based probes at the same time.
Yeah, reuse the same knowledge and energy that has gone into making that specialized feature for that one customer. Or, it becomes reusable.
Yeah, but it's so important, and you know, sometimes I feel we spend ridiculous amount of time doing stuff under the hood that, you know, is not visible to anybody. It's not fancy. It's not, you know, grandiose new user interfaces and stuff that is visible. But that matters, because then suddenly we can implement features that is necessary for specificness much easier.
Yeah, exactly. And I think later on we'll have a demo showing exactly those kinds of examples with the expert view, and how something that is in one platform shows up in another platform.
Exactly.
I wouldn't say free of charge, but it's pretty close.
Okay, we are commercially aware, just so you know as well. But still, it's a great news before summer.
Yeah, I mean, we're launching, we are shipping actually the first units already to a select customer.
Yes, we are.
In end of June. And that's going to be running the first version of version 6. It's going to be, I wouldn't say limited, but it's going to be tested on one specific or a selected feature set. Of course, more testing is needed as we roll it out for the general usage. But yeah, I mean, we can say end of June, first shipment.
That's pretty good. So there you have it. And you heard it first here. It's coming this summer to a probe near you, which is going to be great. That is fantastic news, and you shouldn't really wait. You know, get in hold of your business partner and you know, talk about this. This has great significance, but we'll get back to that in more detail as we progress towards summer. So we are getting ready for the embedded probes, of course. One more thing that I want to talk about, because we talk about power usage, and I just want to say this one more time. The amazing thing with embedded probe, they don't nearly use any power.
No, this is exactly it.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's and of course they're also based on different technologies. Of course, they run a lot of the same software stack with Linux and our own code, of course. But the underlying hardware can be different in some cases. So our servers tend to run on Intel-based type platforms, whereas the embedded is heading towards the ARM direction, where you get a much better power.
Yeah, I heard a fascinating story that one of the developers of the ARM processor, he was kind of coming back to his lab after after a dinner and wanted to continue his experiments, and started programming it, and it outputted data, and then he realized that he hasn't powered the chip up.
Yeah.
It was just living off residual power.
Yeah, exactly.
That's eco-friendly.
Yeah, and I think we had a similar story here where one of the developers thought that the fan had a failure because he could not hear it anymore. But of course, it didn't need to run because it didn't have enough to do the...
Exactly. So power usage, save the whales, save the planet, it's an important part of this. But we have more for you, of course. So the key thing here is that we are going to demo some new fanciful features of the 440. Wow. And then I'm going to introduce, of course, our amazing marketing director, Timothy Langridge. What was it I said, Tim? Was it fun features of the 440? That's a lot of Fs.
Yes, it is a lot of Fs. It's a tongue twister. And I'm going to try and channel my inner engineer and keep up with you guys. So we'll see how we go.
Well, we'll now find out Tim's inner engineer. This will be exciting, Rolf.
Sounds very exciting.
Absolutely.
Looking forward to it.
But one thing that we want to talk about is, of course, the 440. If you could just take us through the GUI, Tim, very, very fast. We have, of course, the amazing thing there with going into packet analytics. You can see all the different flows. You can, of course, go into the timing aspect of all these things, and go into deep analytics of how the individual flows actually behave on the system. You can do packet capture pretty much, which is also a very, very interesting feature of the 440, where you can also now do rolling capture, which is pretty cool. You can set the packet buffer to, let's say, 10 seconds and then let it roll, and then stop it when you want to actually record that 10 seconds. It's pretty powerful features, Tim.
It is very powerful.
But this is just the features that everybody is used to, and now we want to give a bit of preview onto the next generation things here. What about it, Tim? Shall we start with closed captioning?
We can do that. Yep.
Excellent. And that means that basically you have the ability now to go to a stream and turn on closed captioning, both 708 and 608. And then, of course, you can choose which stream you're then looking at if you have multiple tracks of closed captioning. But we have one amazing feature, which is, of course, the ability to go into the real engineering tool, which then brings up the full engineering view of this, where you then can go and see all the codes that is transmitted, the grid that is being transmitted on, and everything. I mean, holy mackerel, Tim, this must bring out the deep engineer in you.
Oh, I'm just excited looking at it right now. So it's amazing.
Cool. No, and that is, because we also decided that if we're going to implement then something with, closed captioning, we need to do it very, very deeply, because when you have problems with closed captioning, well, obviously you need to debug to the core, and this is kind of difficult if you're just reading hex code.
Yeah, that's. I don't think there are a lot of people that can do it anymore.
No, that's very true.
Yeah.
So we created a fantastic interface. Show it one more time, Tim, because I just love this. This is absolutely amazing. And the ability to, again, in real time, see all this going on, it's absolutely spectacular. But enough about closed captioning. We have more. There is not an end to this. So, audio, of course, is of great interest to everybody. When I was growing up in the good old days, or at least the old days, then it was like if you have the choice of audio and video, you have to choose audio, because video without audio, that's absolutely nothing. That's back to the silent movies, and you know, then you need a pianist and everything, and no, it doesn't work. So you need audio, and we introduced some fantastic audio features. So over to you, Tim. Let's see some fantastic things. You are now showcasing, I believe, 7.1 audio.
Indeed, I am. Just here, it's underlined. You can see.
And we can have both 7.1 with full monitoring, and of course we can have 5.1 with full monitoring, or stereo. And one thing is that you can actually then get the audio out in the browser. That is pretty amazing. So that means that remotely you can actually then be on your remote site with access to the 440 within your Chrome browser, and listen to a downmix of the 7.1 or the 5.1 audio. That is amazing. I believe that is a first of anything.
Yeah, I mean, it's so useful if you are stuck somewhere else. And
like we have been doing for quite some time now.
And then you need to listen in and look at and listen to these high bandwidth feeds. Now it's possible.
And also, Tim, if you can just, you know, when you are on the audio, because if you change from the stereo just on the right side and back to the 5.1, we see that the metering is actually changing here. The metering is changing from the goniometer to the room meter. That is pretty spectacular. And what do you think about that fantastic room meter? Isn't that great?
It's designed really, really well. So we've obviously had some front-end developer doing some overtime here, but it does really capture the left and right here of 5.1. And yep, it is very, very...
Oh boy. That is just truly spectacular. And that means, of course, that you have an RMS capability for all the, you know, 7 or 5 channels that you have if you have then a multi-channel mix. And that is pretty spectacular. Everything, again, web-based, doesn't matter where you are, you'll be able to access all these features. So yeah, fantastic, I say. Bravo to the engineers. They deserve real kudos for this. But of course we have more, and now we're going to challenge the inner engineer of Timothy Langridge really to the full, because what is, you know, a lot of people have been talking about this for quite a long time, and now it's starting to be commercially available, and that of course is JPEG Access.
Yeah, that's a really interesting development, because of course there is the theory that you don't need any compression.
That's true.
And then there is the practice that comes and bites you a bit, because...
yes, because, you know, getting hold of larger links than 10 gig is not really simple, because if you call out your local telco, British Telecom or somebody, and ask, oh, I want a 25 gig or I want a 100 gig line, I'm not sure they're even going to answer.
No, they... you will probably go through quite a lot of...
I suspect so. And that suddenly, you know, means that actually 10 gig trunk lines is the mainstay even now.
Yeah, it is. And that's where the JPEG Access comes in.
Exactly.
Because it brings you just underneath that critical bandwidth level.
Yeah, because if you go to 4K UHD, then the physical bandwidth on IP is just over 10 gig. It's 10.5 gigs. Yeah, so that won't do.
No, that's from possible to impossible in just a few megabits.
Few megabits there. So of course, with JPEG Access, you can easily get that number down to, you know, sub-gigabit.
Yeah, I mean, it's a compression standard, and it allows you to do exactly that, compress. Yeah. But it's a standard. I wouldn't pretend that I know a lot here, but what I've been told is that it's a standard that focuses on low latency, and also allows you to have a replicatable compression standard so that you have
Yes.
bounds.
Yeah, because it's a symmetrical standard, which also means that it doesn't need, it doesn't. The packetizer and the unpacketizer is basically the same,
Yeah.
and also it's only 4 TV lines, so it's not a lot of latency. The impact.
No, that's way less than a frame at least.
Oh yes.
The old,
Because we don't like frame-based systems. Oh boy, we want to avoid them as much as we can. But the good news is, of course, that we have rigged. Tim, don't you have a JPEG Access signal we can show?
I do. We've been showing a little bit of it whilst you've been talking, but we can show it again now.
Cool. So that is actually watching a really live JPEG Access signal running on the 440. That is pretty cool. And also, of course, the great news here is that we are launching JPEG Access as part of the 440 platform with one of the coming versions.
Yep.
Then, if you own a 440, you'll have JPEG Access. You too. That's pretty cool.
Yep. No, that's exactly it. Yeah.
Wow. Where will it all end? I can't think. I can't think. Well, let's go back to you, Tim. Anything else you want to show us before we kind of wrap up?
I think we've covered most of it. I've kept up with you as best I can, so I'm done.
Okay, well, thank you, Timothy. That was very, very good of you. I think there is probably some engineering in him. We can tell.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So maybe we'll talk to our engineering director and get him on some coding.
Yeah. Why not? It's
Why, I say.
Well, he sounds so enthusiastic, so maybe not. But the day wouldn't be a day if we can't also visit our mad musical genius, which will wrap it up perfectly for us by introducing some nice culture into the phrase. So what do you say? Shall we do some Axel?
Yep, it's Axel time.
I am a little out of breath. You see, it has been a long day, and I have been breathing all the time. Do you care for piano music? Yes? Too bad. Many of you might not know what this is for. I will show you. I'm sorry? A telephone for me? Thank you. Yes, hello? Oh no, not at all. I'm just performing a show. I beg your pardon? If you want me to call you later? No worries. The audience can wait. Thank you, goodbye. Waiting. I am back. I was thinking of playing a little Mozart. The Danish composer Mozart. Hans Christian Mozart. Actually, Hans Christian Mozart was just from here and up. Mozart was actually a bust. Completely bust. But despite his physical handicap, historians claim that he had a very good marriage. That's enough. You get the picture already. There are 3 pedals here. I've got only 2 feet. What kind of person do they think I am?
Well, I say he only got 2 feet. Well, that sounds like a general symptom. I'm not sure. It's not only you, Axel. Relax. Most of us only have. We may have more thumbs, but only 2 feet. It's a standard feature. Well, thank you a lot for joining me here, Rolf. We managed to go through with some specific, just giving you a tease of what actually is coming. There is, of course, much more, because a lot of these things that have been done under the hood, they give us the ability to bring some really cool stuff into your hands.
Yeah, that's an
oh
exciting,
boy,
future ahead there.
I say. So for you business partners, I would say, you know, tomorrow is the big day for the Bridge event day. And of course, we have our annual Bridge Awards later that day, which is also going to be here on our YouTube channel. So everybody is, you know, invited to join for that one. And basically, I will see you guys tomorrow. And for you other regulars, see you next Tuesday and have a fantastic week.